Hello everyone and welcome to another day of NGS action. We are going to be coming in with the Division B East quarterfinals between the High Inquisitors and the Hots Dads. Now we've already done our map bans, we already have our lobby made and everyone joined in quite quickly, so we should be heading into map 1 momentarily. But the map bans were Garden of Terror and Alterac Pass from the High Inquisitors, and Hots Dads banned out Tomb of the Spider Queen and Cursed Hollow. High Inquisitors decided to go for first pick. Therefore, Hots Dads decided to pick the map, and we are going to be going to Battlefield of Eternity first. Now, to give a little bit of context for this game, this is going to be seed number 2 High Inquisitors versus seed number 7 Hots Dads, but there's only 6 points separating these two teams, as the draft is now underway. But to talk more about these two teams, Division B East is arguably the closest division we have in this in all of NGS right now. Nexus Division, definitely could see some upsets happening. I mean, even in our game last night between the 1st and 8th seed, it was really close. But the point differential over in Division B East is something completely different. There's almost no difference between the points with any of these seeds. So I expect to see a lot of close series coming out of here, even in the first round and all the way throughout the playoffs. Now, the previous time these two teams have played, the High Inquisitors did win, but it was 2-1. Now, will that change? Has Hots Dads managed to improve enough? Or will that be different just because it is that best of 5 instead of the best of 3? We're going to have to see. But now the first few bans are starting to come in right now. We have the Urel being banned out by the High Inquisitors, and Hots Dads have banned away that Stukov. The Hawk is going to be the final ban from High Inquisitors, and I am noticing that they haven't really banned out anyone that's very good at racing yet, and Anduin's going to be the final ban, so all of the really strong DPSs are still available. We still have the Li Ming, we still have the Vala. Even after the nerf, I think Vala is very good on this map, and very good overall. But Jaws is going to lock in that Chromie as that first pick, and will be instantly matched with a Greymane Blaze. Blaze very strong in the off lane, going to help with the defense a lot for these Immortals. And the Greymane is going to be able to deal a ton of damage over to that Immortal. Going to be able to race against it very well. So, liking the draft so far from Hots Dads. And with the Leoric pick, I like the High Inquisitors as well, because I think it's important to have a good balance of offense and defense over onto this map. And the Diablo as well, so lots of very high HP members on the side of the High Inquisitors. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them banning away something like the Tychus or the Malthael. Just anything that can deal % health damage. And unfortunately for them, Greymane can also deal % health damage. That Cursed Bullet is going to be able to deal that current HP, I believe it does. So it will have a lot of value against this Leoric and this Diablo. And the Vala is going to get banned out from Hots Dads. Just trying to get rid of that racing DPS from the side of the High Inquisitors. There's still Li Ming available. It is a little bit difficult because both Li Ming and Chromie are kind of those poke mages. And Chromie, while does deal decent DPS, isn't exactly one of those racing style DPSs that you'd like to see on Battlefield of Eternity. So they do need something that has more consistent, constant DPS. Tychus could be okay. Hanzo's a little bit there, has slower attack speed, but can still auto attack a decent amount. But I could see them locking in Tychus really for either of these two teams. I would see the Murden is going to be locked in for King, and the Uther, so very solid frontline coming in from Hots Dads. It does seem like right now they're kind of building up for that 4-core that's going to be playing offense over onto the enemy's thing, over onto the enemy mortal. And then Greymane is going to be just trying to DPS as hard as possible. We'll be there just to help push everything down. Now, we are still waiting on that DPS. I think there's a lot of people. And Junkrat, so very interesting with that. So I guess my thoughts for this draft is High Inquisitors will likely lose to the race. Diablo and Leoric are two of the lower damage offlaners and tanks when it comes to dealing DPS to the Immortal. I think Blaze is a little bit stronger. And then Greymane is going to out DPS Chromie, Junkrat, pretty much on his own, honestly. And then they're most likely going to have another DPS locked in here, and it's going to be the Kelthus. So I think the race definitely favors Hot's dads, but the fight and the amount of control that's coming out of the High Inquisitors could be very difficult to play against as well. Especially with Leoric and Diablo, they're going to be able to just sit in the front line basically forever. Greymane has the initial burst max HP, but once that is used, doesn't really deal any more damage to the tanks than he does to anyone else. Still a very high damage carry, but we're going to see who's going to be better once we get into game number 1. And we are in map number 1 between the High Inquisitors and Hot's dads. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup. It is likely going to be Godly Noob on the Blaze against Ronin on the Leoric in the off lane. And the rest of the people are just going to go over to the bot lane, just in that standard 4 core. Basically what you see in almost every single game over on this map on Battlefield of Eternity. It is the 2-lane map, and overall, it's not a massive map either. There's a decent bit of distance that can be covered from the bot lane and the top lane, but there aren't a lot of walls, so it is a straight run there. Now we are going to see these two teams meeting up. King has control over the bot brush, but Blue Abyss has control over the top brush. King going to walk in and is going to get stunned up against the wall, but it is the Muradin still at full HP. I don't think there's really any kill threat going to be coming out immediately, as we do see Jaws dealing a lot of damage with that Dragon's Breath and able to just consistently shove in the lane. And that's going to be one of the advantages of having that Chromium Junkrat. They're going to have the push, and they're going to be able to kind of siege onto these walls and onto these forts without really needing a lot of outside help for it. King does get knocked backwards with a Concussive Mine, but not going to be knocked into the team, so won't take any more DPS for that. As Blue Abyss is just kind of trying to be threatening in that brush. But we do have an interesting move. Kakarot is going over to the top lane and is likely going to try and sneak down the siege camp. Wasn't spotted. No ping coming out, so while they are able to get this push over on the bot side, they will lose the top siege camp for this. But whether they noticed or not, they feel confident enough with the wave state to just go for the bot side siege camp themselves. So it is going to be a trade of these two, I get this neutral camps. That's how I like to call these, since they are kind of in neutral territory. But now we do see a little bit of damage coming out. The Wraithwalk has come out from Ronin, but still taken down to around 1/5 HP. I believe Ronin does still have the well to tap, so should be okay, but not even going to bother with that. As we see Q-Ball starting to get a decent amount of damage. And the Concussive Mine able to throw them back, and First Blood is going to go over to the High Inquisitors. And that's the danger when you're playing up against the Junkrat. If you're not paying attention to the Concussive Mine, or if it's just really well placed, you are going to get knocked back, and especially on KT with no Anduin, as King gets knocked back as well. Gonna be tanky enough to survive, but that's a lot of poke going down, and they're going to be able to take down this bot wall as well. And Junkrat, as always, showing just how frustrating it is to play against it. Killer Fairy with that perfect Concussive Mine. Now Kurama and Jaws are both going to go for this Bruiser camp together. Killer Fairy going to join in, as Kakarot is soloing the Bruiser camp over for the side of Hot's dads. The Mortals are going to be spawning in 20 seconds. There is a slight XP advantage coming out from the High Inquisitors, but definitely no talent advantage is going to be gained here. Just a little bit of stats, and even that I expect level 5 is going to get balanced out soon. Godly Noob does have the push over on the top side, and the High Inquisitors are already positioned to start attacking onto this Immortal. And that is another option that they can do. The Greymane will out DPS them, assuming both sides are doing their rotations properly. But if they start the DPS earlier, they will be able to finish it off faster. Now I'm going to take this away just so we can kind of see the HP bars of both of them. This 12 and 6 setup is my least favorite one to try and do observing on, but it's the way she goes. This time they're doing properly the 9 and 3 o'clock one. 5,000 HP lead right now for the High Inquisitors. And they're going to start playing defense. King is going to be coming in. User error as well. Able to get the stun on the Blue Abyss. Blue Abyss is taking a decent amount of damage, but the Diablo is just so tanky. Jaws getting jumped on as well. Now King going to get Shadow Striked into the wall. And both sides are still DPSing. It is starting to get caught up. And now Ronin taking down decently low. Blue Abyss is just trying to DPS. Josh showing damage over the line. But now Godly Noob on the back line. Ronin will get that kill. But who's going to be able to take the Immortal? And it's 99 health left as they're able to take down the Kelthus as well. And there's not even going to be a shield. I can't even see that. There's just this little thing that could just as easily have been a thicker border. But that is going to be Hot's dad winning the race. And that's the power of that Greymane. They're able to defend properly and they're playing their team comp the way it should be. They did have to give away 2 kills for that. And it is going to be a talent advantage right now for High Inquisitors. Will be matched up in just a few seconds, but this Immortal's not going to get a lot. So honestly, with everything said and done, I think I still have to favor the High Inquisitors for that trade. They did lose the objective, but what did it do? It autoed their cannon tower once. Didn't even take down a single building on that wall. So, and they were able to get 2 kills back on the side of the High Inquisitors. They're able to take down the siege camp as well. As the Shadow Strike goes over and the Dragon's Breath as well. They have already used the cleanse on a cue ball. King is trying to run away. And now going to get hit by the Cyclone is Blue Abyss, but no follow-up left. Godly Noob does utilize the fact that the Leoric rotated to finish off the siege camp. And also had a decent push out in the top side as well. Oh, and Killer Fairy is taking so much damage from Cue Ball. Cue Ball is able to deal so much DPS. As long as the ability lands, it is going to be very difficult to play. And now they're able to get the Shadow Strike onto User Error. User Error gets thrown into the backline. But now Killer Fairy gets jumped on as well. Will have the Concussive Mind to blow them back, but another very close fight. And it is that Chromie, so we do see the Heroic Talent coming out earlier. They're able to throw Cue Ball back into the backline. And the Concussive Mind throws Cue Ball backwards, and they're going to be able to get that kill. One more auto. As the High Inquisitors are able to secure that Killer Fairy. Just kind of consistently finding this Kelthus. And able to get that kill once again. 4-0 in terms of kills. So while they did lose the race, they are continuously fighting better. And they have a very good siege over on this bot side. They don't have the DPS quite yet, just due to levels, to really pressure down this fort without an objective, without that Immortal. But slowly but surely, they're building themselves up a lead. And it is going to be that Slowing Sands. Kind of expected. You do see the time lapse on occasion, but I do think Slowing Sands overall is better. Gives a lot of control as both sides start hitting onto these Immortals. The race is slightly favoring the side of Hot Stats this time. And it is going to be a 5k lead for Hot Stats this time. But Hot Stats should have the naturally faster DPS. But they will get zoned away. They're scared to walk into the High Inquisitors. They know that the fighting right now is definitely over on their side. And King steps on the trap, makes sure to disarm it. Stormhammer is going to land out a Blue Abyss. Now the DPS is really starting to come out. And all of a sudden, the race is benefiting the High Inquisitors. They're able to just send all 5 onto this Immortal and just zone the Hot Stats away. So that's going to be a free kill for them onto the Immortal. And it's going to be a very healthy Immortal as well. Oh, but now they're deciding to engage over onto this Bruiser camp as well. King is trying to zone away. Does get the stun over on Kurama and Jaws. Use their arrows. Arrows slowly getting pushed away. Oh, but the ultimate does get interrupted from Cue Ball. And Cue Ball does have the Divine Shield. And will be able to get a safety with that. And, oh, a Killer Fairy was stunned over the back line. So the Riptire is going to get cancelled. They're trying to finish off this Bruiser camp. The Bruiser camp will get stolen. But now the fight's really starting to become. Killer Fairy gets blown up by Cue Ball. But so much damage coming out, honestly, even from this Bruiser camp. Cue Ball getting low, but will be able to walk away. Godly Noob survives with the use of the bunker, and that's going to be 3 kills for them. Or sorry, 2 for nothing. But they did lose their Bruiser camp, and their entire top wall gets destroyed by this Immortal. And this Immortal is able to deal a lot of damage to this fort. It's going to be close, and in fact, the Bruiser camp will be able to finish off the topside fort. And because they sent so many top, they're also able to get a decent amount of poke over onto this bot fort as well. They're not able to clean it out, but they will be able to take it all the way. So now that ability is called Pyroblast. I apologize. I was expecting the Phoenix, and that's the only ability I've cast so far. But the Pyroblast is very good this game. They do have a very squishy backline that kind of relies on survival through distance just by taking 0 damage. With something like Pyroblast, they're going to be able to take a lot of DPS. It's going to take down most of their health. So if they're able to get just a little bit of poke over on the backline and a Pyroblast to finish them off, it's a very consistent way to take out both this Chromie and this Junkrat. And we have a little bit of a trade, Ronin and Godly Noob. Nothing's really going to come out of this so far, as the bottom push is going to get pushed back a little bit. Now, King, both sides are level 12. In fact, the XP is pretty much dead even right now. Both sides are trying to push for their level 13 talents. And there is a Bruiser camp available for the High Inquisitors if they do want to go for it. They may elect to wait until it is time for the Immortals race, as it'll give them a little bit of a push over on the side lane. Now, we do have the call that Immortals are spawning in 30 seconds. Siege camp is going to get finished off in this top side. And, yep, just as suspected, that's when they decide to go for their Bruiser camp. And this is always a good move because it does help you get a little bit of that pressure over in the side lanes. And it really adds a lot of potential damage and potential building destruction. As we do see, Ronin gets taken down. I wasn't going to cast that too much. I was expecting the Wraithwalk to come out. But the stuns were perfect. Wraithwalk never had a chance to come out at all. So really good pick from the Hots Dads, and this could be a good timer for them. Unfortunately, it is the Leoric. Leoric is able to respawn very quickly, able to use the Drain Life just to lower that respawn timer. So it is going to be 5-on-5 before anything starts happening. They will take this moment to clear out this Bruiser camp, which in its own is an advantage. As the Entomb does come out onto Godly Noob, Bunker is going to be traded for it, as well as half of that Blaze's HP. And now they have started over onto this Immortal, but the fight is starting to come out. User error is getting zoned away from the fight, so their healer is not able to approach. Gorma gonna use the Ancestral Healing. User error now finally going to group with the team, and they're able to get the Jet Propulsion, and so many stuns lining on Ronin. The Apocalypse comes through as well, and onto the Slowing Sands as well. Jaws slowly getting zoned out, but does have the distance now against King. And the Slowing Sands are still down over on the entire enemy. Blue Abyss trying to sustain, but the damage is too high coming out from Hots Dads. It is going to be a 2-for-1 in favor of the Hots Dads. But Ronin, once again, is going to respawn. And in terms of the respawn timers, this benefits the High Inquisitors. And the team fight was on the Hots Dads Immortal. So the Red Immortal is the one that's going to get taken down lower. But Ronin just respawned and is already getting taken down solo. Entomb going to be used defensively. And Blue Abyss able to get the Shadow Strike as well. And the Concussive Mine actually gets Cue Ball back to safety. But now the Jet Propulsion is going to land on 2. Kurma is so low. If they can take down the healer, and they can, the Jet Streams are going to finish it off. And now Jet Propulsion lands on a Blue Abyss, using the Shadow Strike to get away. Cue Ball looking for the Cyclone. It is able to land the Cyclone. No follow-up damage, but not too much is needed, as they're able to take down the Diablo as well. Not enough souls to respawn. And look at that, another Jet Propulsion, and Ronin also gets taken down. And what started as one pick chained into a 4-for-0 in favor of the Hots Dads, as they're able to bring this game back. They were definitely in a really bad position going on to this Immortal fight, but with all of those picks, they're going to be able to just cleanly DPS onto this Immortal. They're even going to be able to let Godly Noob go and take away that Siege camp. Assuming not too much damage is going to be done back, Kurma gonna try and just lower the shield ahead of time. It is going to be an 11,500 health shielded Immortal. And hopefully with that, they'll be able to bounce back some structures. The last Immortal they brought here did a little bit of damage to one of the cannon towers. Let's see how much this second Immortal is going to be able to get for Hots Dads. There is a massive wave starting to push on the top side, and they will be sending Godly Noob to take care of that. But they should be okay. It is still a 4v5 push, so they can't full commit. But they are able to get a decent amount of poke. The wall is already gone, and the shield still isn't it. Each auto is dealing a decent amount of damage. Ronin gets onto the backline. Blue Abyss has the Entomb as well. And the Apocalypse coming out, only going to land onto the tank. Riptire going to zone everyone away from the backside. And now User able to get the stun with the Hammer of Justice, but they will be able to get away. And if you're fighting them, you're not DPSing onto this Immortal. This Immortal is going to finish off this fort. I shouldn't be able to get too much else, but definitely a lot more value. And they've kind of balanced out the map state with that. Gotta get a little bit of damage onto this top cannon tower, as is tradition for the Red Immortal of this game. And now they are going to get started onto this top port as well. They're going to get the jet propulsion, but Wraithwalk has already been used. And in fact, the Pyroblast also going to be committed. And so much damage on Ronin. They're able to get the stun and the Cyclone onto Blue Abyss. But they're low HP, they're low mana. They want to just back away. They've gotten 2 forts. They have the map advantage. And they even have the talent advantage right now. So they are in a very good spot overall on the side of Hot Stats. That one teamfight victory where they were able to get that 4 for nothing has really catapulted them into the lead. Now they take the Bruiser camp. Ronin is going to get matched by Godly Noob, though they may look for a kill. Jet Propulsion is going to land, but Ronin does have that Wraith Walk. Last time got caught off guard, but has not been caught off again. Is now ready for the multiple team to come through. Will always use that Wraith Walk during the Jet Propulsions, as they do take the Siege Camp on the side of the High Inquisitors. And now I believe the Bruiser Camp does win out against the Siege Camp, as the fight may start breaking out. King looks for the Stormhammer, not able to land it. Perfect time with a Concussive Mind from Killer Fairy. As the Shadow Strike lands onto user error, but nothing else is going to be committed. Both sides just kind of feeling each other out. Hot Stats able to get a decent amount of zoning, but not enough pressure to contest onto this Bruiser Camp, so that will be secured by the High Inquisitors. As King finishes off that final cannon minion, and they're going to have a little bit of a push right now. This will be dealt with, but that Bruiser Camp was still able to give them enough pressure to kind of get first positioning into this mid lane. Unfortunately, they also need to deal with the Bruiser Camp, so they will have to give it away. And the High Inquisitors do have the inside track right now. They do have the pressure. Hot Stats has to walk into them, but it is going to get bounced out. They're going to take the long way around, and it's difficult because right now the 2 Immortals are on the enemy sides. Both sides are level 17. There's no advantage for either of these teams. Slight natural push advantage. A Stormhammer lands on it too, and the Cleanse was actually burnt, so that's a pretty big spell that's not going to be available if they're able to start a fight shortly. And neither side is really willing to walk forward. This will eventually benefit the Hot Stats, as Godly Noob did miss the Jet Propulsion and does get knocked back with a Concussive Mind, but still no follow-up. Bunker gonna get committed as well. And the Entomb onto user error. Apocalypse as well. Divine Shield has been used onto user error. And look at the damage. The Chromie gets taken down. Kurama also has the Apocalypse. Throwing down the Pyroblast is not going to be enough. Blue Abyss using the Shadow Strike in the backline, but now you're alone. Your team has abandoned you, and Blue Abyss will go down. Are they able to get anything more? King jumping inside, does have the Stormhammer, and they're now going to be zoning away Kurama, and Kurama will go down. So that's a 3 for 1, as that Riptire was able to finish off the Kelthus. But that's still a teamfight victory for Hot Stats. And once again, they can just start DPSing onto this Immortal. Godly Noob looking for Killer Fairy. Does have the positioning, but Killer Fairy's in a very good spot, as King also runs in, and the Jet Propulsion will get the last hit. So they're gonna be able to take away this Junkrat as well. And not only that, but it's desynced spawn timers. So there's going to be a longer period of time where they have an advantage over on the map. And once again, Godly Noob going to walk down to this bot side siege camp. And they will be able to secure this Immortal. And last time I was saying an 11,500 shield is very good news for Hot Stats. This time, it's a 31,000 HP shield. And we'll see how much pressure they're going to be able to get. They are not level 20 yet, but they're only half a level away. It is very possible they will be able to secure this level 20 on the way to this siege. They just need a little bit more. They're also going to have the help coming out from the siege camp. And in fact, Q-Ball going to roam over to the top side just to help secure that level 20 and the side lane push. Now the Immortal is starting to approach. Concussive Mind already going to be thrown out. Dragon's Breath is going to be doing a decent amount of DPS. Killer Fairy also able to damage the Immortal from range. The level 20 is now hit by Hot Stats, and this is probably going to be their strongest timer for the rest of the game. This is where they have a talent advantage. They have a very strong Immortal. They could look to start an engagement and try and end the game here. Godly Noob able to get the stun over onto Ronin. and able to get so much damage. And in fact, Ronin is going to go down, and that's the pick they needed. Can they open this up any further? Killer Fairy is going to get stunned. Stormhammer, and now the Pyroblast as well. And the Cleanse has come out, but it's not enough. So much damage. Blue Abyss is taking so much DPS as well. The fort is now gone. Apocalypse has been used, but will not stun anyone. Blue Abyss is stuck in the backline and will go down as well. So they're able to get 3. It is a 3 for 0. The Immortal's still very healthy. They're starting to damage onto this core, and this should be it. Hot's Dads will win game number 1 and move on with an advantage. And just like that, Hot's Dads, they picked this map and they secured this map for themselves. It was a very close game, and really the thing that turned around how the game was moving was that 4-0 play over in the mid game for Hot's Dads. They were able to just slowly pick off one, and they were able to chain that into a second, then a third, then a fourth. They were just consistently able to channel those kills. Once they got a little bit of an advantage, they were able to really push that further. Give them an inch, they take a mile. And we'll see if that's going to continue holding true for Hot's Dads. We are going to go to a short break, but when we come back, it's going to be game number 2. And we're back with map number 2 between the High Inquisitors and Hot's Dads. We are going to be going to Volskaya Foundry. A little bit of an unusual map. It's not one I often get to cast, but it is going to be very interesting to see how these two teams are going to be fighting over these control points. It does take a long time to take these points, and you also have to be constantly standing on them. So it is something that kind of pulls away at least one of your team members away from the rest of the map. So I think something like having global presence is a little bit valuable on this map. However, with all of the different conveyor belts, it is slightly easier to move between sides. So not quite as valuable on this map as it would be on Cursed Hollow, Garden of Terror, Warhead Junction. Though I believe Warhead Junction is not currently in the map pool. Now the bans are coming out, and High Inquisitors immediately ban out the Uther. Do not want that on user area again. And it's just going to be a lot of different healers getting banned out right now. Stukov and Anduin both getting banned out as well. So there's already 3 healers taken out of the pool. Rhaegar is still available if they want to get rid of that as well. Brightwing. And especially on the map like Volskaya Foundry, having something like the Brightwing could help out a lot. Just getting a little bit of that side wave pressure. But it is going to be the Dahaka. And immediately the Urel is going to get locked in by Godly Noob. So we definitely saw that banned away in game number 1. It looked like it was a respect ban. But in return, they are going to take this Urel. And now gonna see what the first 2 picks are going to be from the High Inquisitors. I did really like their Diablo play. I think their Diablo Lior combo was well played, and they got a lot of value out of it. I would like to see a bit more consistent DPS coming out from them. And Zul'jin is going to bring that consistent DPS. Chromie picked up as well. Jaws played fine on Chromie. But I do like seeing that they have something more standard, like a basic auto attacker coming out from Blue Abyss. King going to lock in the Joanna immediately after. That blind is huge value into the Zul'jin, especially if you take that level 1 talent where you get 2 blinds. So overall, I do like this pick with the Joanna and Rhaegar. So far, pretty basic picks coming out from Hot's Dads, as in the sense that they haven't really revealed how they want to play with their team composition. Joanna is just kind of that standard tank. Rhaegar is that standard healer. Urel does show that it's more of a bruisery offlane rather than more of a DPS / engage offlane. And what I mean by that is, like, Urel is more of a frontliner, whereas if you take something like Imperius, that's something that you really pick more just to fight. And now we do see the Tychus going to get banned out by the High Inquisitors. And I'm kind of curious if Hot's Dads is going to try to ban away another healer. Brightwing's available, Deckard Cain's available, Alexstrasza if they want to get fancy. I have seen Alexstrasza banned away a couple times now, actually. So really going to depend on what they're feeling is the bigger threat. There is also the Diablo if they want to go to the tank, but they will go with the Samuro ban to ban away the offlaner. Now, Diablo Lior combo is still available, and I do think in this game it could be decent, but it looks like they want to play the blow-up composition with the Varian getting locked in. Now, this is going to be a taunt Varian. It is Ronin locking it in, unless they do some fancy swaps. And typically whenever you pick a Varian, you pick your Varian to one-hit someone and then kind of snowball the fight from there. Kurama is going to lock in the Lucio as well. I'm not sure what ultimate. Most likely will go the high 5. However, the sound barrier does have some niche cases. And I think into a team composition that they're against, there actually isn't that many stuns. There's the Urel knockaway and Condemn coming out from Joanna, but the high 5... while it is value in most situations, may not be best this game. And now the Vala and Mephisto going to be locked in as the final 2 picks, and I really like that coming out from Hot's Dads. That's going to give a lot of range from cue ball and a lot of that standard DPS coming out from Vala. And their entire front line is very good at peeling. Urel can do so much damage over on the backline, just kind of pressure them away. It's not the strongest. Like, Urel's not going to one-shot their backline, but Urel is definitely going to do more than enough damage to keep all the focus onto Urel as Killer Fairy locks in the Kira. And I've never casted a Kira game before, so this is going to be very interesting to watch. It is going to be that off-lane Kira, I would assume. And I don't know the matchups for her too well because it's not something I see too often in solo queue either, but if the Kira is able to get onto the backline, I know for a fact Mephisto can go down quite easily. So we're going to have to see just how much pressure Killer Fairy is able to output in game number 2. And we are in map number 2 between the High Inquisitors and Hot's Dads. We're going to be playing on Volskaya Foundries. So it is going to be that slower to cap point. And it is going to be that kind of point as well where it's one of those driving kind of bosses. And you need 2 people to get full value out of it, which is always going to be interesting. Now, I expect both sides are going to start walking into this mid lane, so let us watch them approach together. So both sides do get a little bit nervous near the wall, but Godly Noob now going to take that front line. And just going to be watching. Now, one weakness the composition of Hot's Dads definitely has is it's a little bit harder to pressure into the buildings. Their range for the DPS is quite low, unless they have enough pressure for Cue Ball to teleport into them as well. Now, so the mid pressure is going to go over to the High Inquisitors, but Godly Noob has already started pushing out that bot lane. Both these teams are a little bit hesitant to rotate across the map right now. And it might be just because it's the playoffs, but it is interesting to see. In game number 1, they're moving a lot faster. King gonna take a decent amount of damage, and it is Blue Abyss on the Zeldrin, so we do have to keep track of the stacks. Currently only on 1, but it does take 5 hits to get the 1 stack. And now Ronin is going to be trying to pressure out a little bit as well. And that is one of the issues when you do go that tank variant build. You are not a hero until level 4. You need that level 4 to get the taunt to really unlock your abilities and your power spike. But luckily, it's very hard to pressure onto the map until level 4 as well from Hot's Dads. Especially with their team composition where they don't have a lot of range or poke either. They have a little bit coming out from the Mephisto, but that's really it. And speaking of the Mephisto, it does look like the Lightning Nova build so far. Now King is getting hit a little bit off to the side, but overall surviving quite well. Now the first objective, I believe, will start spawning soon enough. I believe it's 2:30. So we should have the cooldown come down soon. And I will give credit to Hot's Dads. They have been more on point with taking these neutrals. They've already taken their siege camp. They just finished off their bruiser camp. And Kakarot also incidentally going the Hungering Arrow build. So lots of very interesting talents coming out from both of these teams right now. They do have the turret sitting onto Kurama right now. And the siege camp is going to be pushing in the top side with the... I don't even know what these things are called. The little assault troopers. They're going to get absolutely taken out with the Dragon's Breath coming out from Jaws. And now the Condemn is coming down through this top side, but not going to be able to start any fights right away. Ronin does go for the taunt, but doesn't have anyone to really jump on top of. Now Godly Noob is going to knock Killer Fairy back down. And now they do have a lot going on to Killer Fairy. They're able to get 3. The Condemn and the Lightning Nova to finish off the kill. And first blood going over to Hot's Dads. And the control point is going to unlock. And just for my own sanity, it is at 3 minutes, not 2:30. But that is something they can start working towards. It is a very strong boss if you're able to get it. But it does take a lot of time and a lot of investment. And right now, as you can see, they're not really willing to invest. They prefer to pressure out that top side. Godly Noob trying to run back bottom. Oh, okay, never mind. I thought it was... Yeah, no, Godly Noob is just sitting there, just trying to hide it in the vision. And we'll be able to walk onto the point right now. They're able to get the taunt on the backside. And now Ronin gets knocked into the wall by Godly Noob, but will be okay. The High Inquisitors will be able to push them away. And that is one of the advantages they have with their team composition. And that's Jaws on this Chromie. So much range. And they don't really have anyone that's able to jump onto the backline with ease. Yrel is someone that can do it, but on their own, Yrel just doesn't have long enough stuns to let the rest of the team follow up, and doesn't have enough threat on their own to really pressure away Jaws from the fight. They can delay, but they cannot win the fight for them. And now Killer Fairy is also able to get a decent amount of pressure over on this off lane. So it does seem like Kira is able to fight pretty well into Uro. It does have the burning damage, so we'll take a little bit of time. Nice sidestep by Godly Noob. Killer Fairy not going to be able to pull onto anyone as the fight is starting to break down. Condemn lands on Ronian, and both sides have thrown down their turrets. The taunt has landed on the Godly Noob, and look at that Lightning Nova onto Blue Abyss. Blue Abyss is going to be auto-attacking back and forth, but they will be able to take back this pressure, and in fact will take Killer Fairy down, so that's 2 kills in total throughout the entire game, going over to hot stats. There is going to be enough time for them to try and do one more contest onto this point. They do have 99% over on the side of High Inquisitors as Jaws clears out that minion, or that turret. And now Blue Abyss trying to match Godly Noob in the spot lane, and will pick up the XP lead as well. But they're gonna have to fight at the same time as the really in the overtime. Both sides are going to be at 99% for sure, no matter what at this point. Ronian is going to walk in now. They're grouping up as 4. Both sides have the turret, but the healing is far away. Ronian able to get the taunt onto user error. They're going to clean out the blast. And now Cue Ball gets pulled back in with the time lapse, so they're able to get that kill. And now that's the first blood going over to the High Inquisitors, and they're able to get 2. They took down the healer or the tank as well. Joanna will be gone. The turret is going to follow through, and that's a 2 for nothing for the High Inquisitors, and they're going to be able to take this objective. And the Triglove Protector is going to be coming through. And now they're going to start sending this over to the top side. And I gotta give a lot of credit over to this Chromie. A very good choice in ultimate with a temporal loop, because last game did have the slowing sands, and the slowing sands were good in that game. But for this series, especially against a Mephisto, the temporal loop is such a good way to counter it. Durance of Fate has been thrown out just onto this front line. And now Godly Noob able to get onto the back line, just kind of keep Blue Abyss and Kurama away. As they're just hardcore DPSing onto this Protector. King taken down a half HP. Currently charging the big Booma, but it will not fire it off. They're going to try to get just a little bit more damage over onto this fort, and they're going to be able to get a lot of damage onto this fort. About a third HP going to be gone, and they're going to back away as the Protector despawns. And now Godly Noob trying to get a pick onto Jaws, but will not be able to knock Jaws back into their team. Killer Fairy might be caught out a little bit. Godly Noob is in the right spot for it. They do have the healing coming through from the Lucio. The pull will land on a Godly Noob, but this is just the pull that's going to deal some damage. Temporal Loop already utilized, but it... Oh, but they do have the Durance of Hate landing on a 3. Another Lightning Globe and dealing a lot of damage in the backline. Ronin does go in with the top. It gets knocked back into the tower. Currently, it does have the protection, but it is being chased down. Godly Noob trying to get the kill, but the heal comes out in time. User Error going to heal Godly Noob as well, but now User Error also low. Same with King. There's so much damage going both these ways, but no one's going down. Everyone's at blinking health bars. Blue Abyss trying to finish Cue Ball and will be able to get the 1 kill in this fight. Everyone on blinking health bars, but the healers just keeping both of their teams alive. Blue Abyss was able to be the difference maker, getting the 1 final auto attack to finish off Cue Ball. And now Godly Noob going to pressure into this lane as well, just trying to get the wave shoved away. That is the final strike coming out from Killer Fairy. Not going to deal any damage. Is going to go off to the side, as the fortification camp is going to get finished off. But the healing camp has been finished off by Kurama as well. So they are going to have the Bionic Emitter for the High Inquisitors in the next fight. And now the blind does come through onto Ronin, but Ronin not going to be able to land the taunt onto anyone. Not going to care too much either. Will be healed up pretty quickly. And the next objective is going to be spawning over on that top side. And I'll be honest, I am still watching this offlane. Typically I watch the 4 core, but I think Killer Fairy, Godly Noob are definitely going to be fighting a lot more than any of these other sides. And now King and Kakarot here as well, and Killer Fairy is starting to get taken down, and that's going to be a free kill. And not only that, Killer Fairy was the one with the turret, And the turret was never placed, so that's going to be an extra turret coming out for Hot's Dads. The kill itself, not going to matter too much. It is going to be a little bit of XP and a little bit of extra side lane pressure. But getting that turret for the next team fight is going to make a very big difference. It means Kurama is going to have to work even more overtime trying to keep them alive. But they're able to get the taunt onto the backline. Cue Ball is going to be slowed. But the temporal loop goes on to user air instead. Now the Endurance of Hate not going to go through. Does need a little bit more range. Still a very good fight for the High Inquisitors. They were able to bait out both of these turrets. So the advantage that was gained from killing the Kira is now back. So we're once again in an even state. Both sides do have their level 13 talents. Godly Noob playing around to the side. Doesn't really see anyone to jump on. Does have the Righteous Hammer to throw them into the wall. As the second objective has spawned, the control point is now available. And it does seem like the side of High Inquisitors do want to go immediately to it. They're going to throw just the little boombox, kind of scout out the bush for them. But it's going to be a little bit of a different play from Hot's Dads. They're looking for Jaws, and they're able to get the slow. The Hungering Arrow. Two of them, in fact, going on to Jaws, and Jaws takes so much damage. Now Kakarot just dumping the damage onto Killer Fairy. Killer Fairy sacrifices their life just to keep Jaws alive. But that's going to be an extra kill that they get for themselves. The control point is still available if they do want to go for that. It's going to be 30 seconds until Killer Fairy is back up. And I gotta say, Hot's Dads are kind of bullying onto Killer Fairy, just constantly following this Kira and repeatedly picking them off. Now they're not going to go for the control point. Instead, they're going to take away their siege camp. Let the little gun turret things come through and help push out the top lane. And now Ronin does have to back away, but was able to get the control point all the way to 52%. And considering they were down on the map, it is pretty good to be able to get half the objective already. Now Jaw is going to clear out as much of the siege camp as possible. And Ronin is in fact going to tank it so that their buildings do not take too much damage. It looks like Hot's Dads aren't even interested in contesting for it. They're going to their fortification camp right now. Kakarot and Godly Noob are going to take this both down. And so it's going to go, and now Ronin is able to get back onto this camp. Level 16s now for both of these teams, so the XP is very close for both of these two sides. And they are on the control point already at 65%, and Hot's Dads will have to contest it now. The fight should be breaking out very soon as the Condemn lands on a Ronin, and the Endurance of Hate just barely gets dodged out. And they're able to get the temporal loop onto User Air. User Air not going to be taking too much damage because Jazz had to go into stasis. And now Q-Ball dealing damage, but Blue Abyss just auto-attacking onto all of them. Killer Fairy trying to deal as much damage over in the backline as well. Ardent Sensor is going to be coming through, but Killer Fairy will be the first one to go down and the only one to go down. User Air gets taken out very low, but the chain healing will come out in time. And now Godly Noob does get slowed, and the taunt lands onto the Joanna King. One more down, auto, but no, the Ancestor healing comes out in time. And everyone is so low. Blue Abyss taking a decent amount of damage, but doesn't have a lot of healing. Zeljin able to self-heal, and User Air going to go down. So that's the Rhaegar gone. 4v4 now onto this map. Godly Noob trying to deal damage on the backline, but Ronin is the one that's going to get taken down. Daz Dingo Pop. Q-Ball taken down to around 100 HP, but able to jump away. And a very close team fight once again. But a 2-for-1 all day for Hot's Dads. They were able to slightly win that fight. The HP advantage, however, is benefiting the High Inquisitors. They don't know it, they don't see it on the map, but they could, in fact, just secure this Protector. And I think they should have enough time to just straight up get the Protector right now. Blue Abyss currently sitting on it, now at 93, 4, 5. And that's going to be it. The High Inquisitors, they lost the fight, but they won the war. They're going to be able to take this Protector. And we'll see where they take it. Top side is very close by. Half HP right now, and would be very good offlane pressure for them to have. They're just going to walk immediately into this fort, and they're going to take a lot of damage for it, but they should be able to clean it out. And in fact, just needs a little bit more damage. One more auto, and no, it survives on literally 11 HP. The Protector is going to go down, but unfortunately for them, they did not have enough pressure in the lane to really finish off this fort. Now, Jaws gonna try and sneak off through the side. I don't want to watch this because this is more entertaining to me. And there we go. The Dragon's Breath will finish it off. And now Killer Fairy is going to take the Righteous Hammer into the wall. Protector is still alive, but only slightly. And just kind of trying to get a little bit of poke damage with a little bit that's left of the Protector. It is going to be that Zolchan and that Lucio coming out through. As Endurance of Hate does land, but High Five going to be utilized to keep it away. And now they're going to be able to get the taunt on a cue ball, but that's going to be immediately cleansed off. And the Raid of Vengeance lands on a Killer Fairy, and Killer Fairy is going to get taken down. Godly Noob does have the Temporal Loop on top of them, but they will be okay. They're going to even be able to continue pressuring it out. And that's another kill onto Killer Fairy. Hot stats. Stop bullying Killer Fairy. What have they ever done to you? They're not huge fans of the Kira pick, it would seem. But they were able to defend fairly well into that Protector. They still end up losing their top for it. But overall, considering how much more they potentially could have gone on the side of the High Inquisitors, it was a very solid defense. And they had to spend a lot of time and effort just to take that one fort. And since we're 15 minutes in the game, it doesn't mean quite as much as it would in the earlier parts. Now the Bionic Emitter is going to get picked up. King going to be the one to grab it. Yes. And now Godly Noob going to get slowed. And one thing I do want to mention is Yuan Axe has been fully stacked up. So that is going to be a very big quest completed. Has the double Twin Cleave. So Blue Abyss is going to be able to deal a ton of damage. And every 5 autos does give the 1 bonus damage per auto. But now Godly Noob is holding out on the top side. And in the meanwhile, the bot side is getting sieged upon by Hot Stats, who have reached level 20, by the way. So we have the triple vault and the Caltrops coming out. Oh, but they're able to get a pick, and they're able to get 2. Look at that. Endurance of Hate lands straight onto 2. They're able to get Killer Fairy once again, and they're also able to take out Jaws. 2 DPS gone from High Inquisitors. And with that, they're going to be able to pressure this bot side forward, and the death timers are pretty long. It's 50 seconds. How much more can they get out of this? Do they want to continue this push? They do not have a lot in terms of minions. They have the 1 ranged minion. And look at him go. King is going to just stand and tank up onto this wall. The Twin Cleave is going to be coming through. But the Blind and the Hungering Arrow landing from the Vala is going to force Blue Abyss to walk away. Kakarot currently at 38 stacks of Puncturing Arrows. So very solid pickoffs coming out right now from the Hot Stats. But they are able to land the taunt onto King. And with the minus 50 armor, as the Endurance of Hate will land, but it is only going to be onto Ronin. Twin Cleave also only going to land onto Kakarot. Not going to deal too much DPS at the end of the day. So they're able to get the bot fort and the bot wall. So in terms of map objective, oh, and their mid lane was able to take that mid lane wall as well for the fort. So overall, the map pressure has now been evened out, and both of these teams are now at that level 20 point. And speaking of the point, Hot Stats are on it, and it looks like they do want to contest onto this one earlier. They have the Bionic Emitter, they have 1 turret, and only 1 turret on the side coming from Kurama. Now Godly Noob has a very interesting flank. Kurama going to be able to spot out Godly Noob, so they know they're there, they know they're getting flanked on. And they took 33% off the point and decided that was good enough for now. The High Inquisitors are in the meanwhile going to back out, going for their fortification camp, but it looks like they want to get invaded. And Endurance of Hate lands onto the back lane. They're able to get Blue Abyss and able to get the Blessed Shield as well. And Raid of Vengeance, Tazdingo forced out, but look at all the stuns. The Raid of Vengeance just landing on all of them. Tazdingo trying to get as much DPS as possible, but there's only so much you can do. The Bionic Emitter keeping them alive. Kakarot at 300 HP. Jaws also going to get taken down. And Bronin. And that's a 5-0 team fight. And Hot Stats, they may have done it again. They won game number 1. And they should be able to finish off game number 2 here with an absolutely astounding performance coming out from them. They were able to demolish them in that final team fight. And all of that really stemmed from just having the confidence to invade. They knew they were strong in the team fights. They knew the Endurance of Hate, if it lands onto the right people, there's not much else you can do. Very clean game coming out from Hot Stats. Very controlled as they are going to match point. All right, and that is going to be 2-0 so far for Hot's Dads. But remember, this is the playoffs. This is a best of 5. We still have at least one more game to show. And on that note, I would also like to point out it's not exactly at least one more game, because with the way the time's going, I will be picking up the 8:30 series as well between Sexy Mofos and Can't Counterpick Stupid. So we're going to have a double header tonight on the Toki V stream once again. I want to make sure as many of these playoff games, as many of all of these NGS games are brought to you live whenever possible. I'm going to continue grinding out for you, for the fans. And having said that, it's time for my sponsor spiel. A huge shout out to afkjourney for sponsoring this stream. afkjourney is an exploration game. It's a collection game. It's a free game. Thank you very much for afkjourney for sponsoring this stream. And if you just install it, this will benefit me a lot. It helps support the stream. It lets me do what I love doing. So thank you very much for anyone who's already signed up. We've already had 3 people sign up. And thank you all. We're going to go to a short break, but when we come back, it's going to be game number 3. And we are into map number 3 between the High Inquisitors and Hot's Dads. Hot's Dads already on match point with that 2-0 lead. But can the High Inquisitors do a reverse sweep and bring this game right back to them? Now Stukov going to be that first ban. And just gonna wait and see what other possible picks and bans there's still gonna be today. So we have seen the Urel band out before. We have seen the Uther band out before from the High Inquisitors. And both seem to have done a lot of damage to them. They're going to decide, especially for Infernal Shrines, this is a map that Hogger excels at. Is able to just continuously keep that Hog wild over onto these Infernal Shrines, able to just bounce infinitely, killing all the skeletons, killing all of the enemies. So the High Inquisitors decided to just ban that out, and they won't need to worry about it. So now the next ban gonna be coming out. They have been banning 2 healers. Usually it's the Stukov, then the Anduin. That's what I've been noticing the most from Hot Stats, and that is going to continue here right now. But the High Inquisitors, there's a lot of bans they could be bringing out, and they have brought a couple of them out before. They've banned away the some of the other healers. They've banned away Urel. They've banned away... Wow, I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on someone other than Urel. But I believe they've may have also banned away the Junkrat. But no, they are going to ban away the Urel this time around. Not something they want to deal with yet again. And now Dahaka instantly going to get locked in by Godly Noob. Dahaka very strong at this map as well. It is a tall map, and as always, tall maps means Dahaka is good. Just having that natural pressure across the entire map, having that burrow, it's very powerful. One of the best abilities in the game, I'd even argue.
The crusade calls.
And Joanna is going to get locked in for Ronin. That's going to be that solid tank. We'll have the blind. And it's super hard to move Joanna off of a point. So on something like Infernal Shrines, where just holding a point means a lot, it's a very solid pick. And now Kurama going to lock in that Brightwing. And the Tychus Kelthus is going to be locked in once again from Hot's Dads. The Tychus is the first time, but that Kelthus, we saw just how much damage Cue Ball is able to output on that hero. Able to even one-shot Jaws over in game number 1. So it is a very valuable pick, and I'm pretty happy to see it get picked once again. I think there's a lot of value in that KT. I think there's a lot of damage that comes out of it. A little bit of sustain. I'm not sure if they'll go the Pyroblast once again, or if they'll decide to go for the Phoenix build instead. Especially over on this map, on Infernal Shrines, having that zoning tool of the Phoenix can be very helpful when it comes to finishing off the map. Now the next 2 bans have come through. Murden going to get banned away from the High Inquisitors, as the Tassadar is going to get banned out by Hot's Dads. So what is happening next? They still need an offlaner, and their DPS is for the High Inquisitors. Junkrat is available if they want to pick that up, but they're going to go with a Gul'dan and the Zul. Okay, so we're seeing some very interesting picks here. Zul does have that guaranteed route, the point and click route, and Gul'dan, lots of damage, kind of very similar to the Chromie that we see Jaws, that we have seen Jaws pick up in games number 1 and 2. And that Zul is able to just wave clear very quickly. Has one of the fastest wave clears in the offlaners. Still isn't picked too often. Zul isn't very high up in the meta. But still, should be a very interesting pick for this game. As the Nubarak and Uther going to be the final 2 picks. So, very good for King and for User Error. They have shown how much pressure they're able to do with Uther. And in fact, that was the healer that I was trying to remember for the second ban for the High Inquisitors. And the Greymane going to be the last pick. And I really like this Greymane because it is a very standard DPS and is able to deal a ton of DPS. So, very good draft. I think I still have to favor Hot's Dad's draft just a little bit. I think Zul, while good at wave clear, is lacking a little bit on the front line. And Joanna is good as a solo frontliner, but against the KT, against the Tychus, and the Uther, it's going to be so difficult. But we'll have to see in game number 3. And we are in map number 3. We are on the Infernal Shrine. So there's going to be a lot of Punishers getting spawned in. And they're just going to knock down as many of these towers and as many of these heroes as possible. But who's going to be the one in control of these Punishers? And that's a question we will have answered as soon as the first one spawns and the real battles begin. So now both these two teams gonna start grouping mid. So we're gonna do... I'm gonna try this new map thing. I've been wanting to see how well it looks. And now we're gonna zoom out. Both the teams are slowly getting into shot. And we're actually seeing a couple of interesting movements coming out already. As either side really wants to walk in mid. So my plan was ruined. It's fine. Ronin is able to get that mid pressure. Gonna have the brush. But now King going to walk in as well. As Kakarot going to throw the grenade just to dismount Bandit. And they're able to get mid pressure immediately for High Inquisitors. However, Godly Noob is already on the top side, already starting to get that shove in. And Cue Ball was in the bot side, has started the push a little bit, but did back away before any gank has appeared. They are grouping as 3 over on this bot side, and it does seem like they're going to be double soaking as the 4 core and leaving their offlaner kind of in an island over on the top side. And that is the benefit of Zell as well. Zell is going to be able to trade really well. It's a very strong DPS, has a lot of damage, so could become a threat in the offlane. And now Godly Noob, in fact, is also grouping up at this mid lane with them. Now the siege camp is getting started by the High Inquisitors. They're just going to be able to pick this up. We'll take it down very quickly. As Kakarot was just waiting in the bush, trying to see if there was going to be any kind of roam. King getting poked down a little bit by Bandit, but does have that natural spell shield coming out from the hardened carapace. But now they do know the siege camp has started, and this might be our first team call. And now the Impale lands over onto Blue Bandit, and Bandit just very low HP and is going to get burned down. So much damage coming through. Godly Noob also burrowed down to make that a 5v4. So they're going to get first blood, and they're going to steal away the siege camp. And Hot's dads, very slightly, but they have started their lead. And now they're going to go into this other siege camp as well. The burrow strike coming out from King just to help DPS it down. And Godly Noob is slowly running up top, going to start hitting onto Jaws. But Jaws is able to have a pretty large wave, and in fact could even consider just fighting. But the stasis does come out, so that Hako will be okay. And the siege camp does get finished off, and they're going to clear away their bot side. So about a quarter level lead right now for Hot Stats. And nothing super significant yet, but a lead is a lead, and you got to build off of something. So, and with that, they're going to start absolutely slamming down onto this bot side wall. Not going to be able to finish off the cannon tower, just a little bit lacking in the DPS department. It is quite early in the game, only level 5, so do need a little bit more stats before they can really start pushing into that. And now Godly Noob does miss the drag onto Jaws, as both teams do get onto their bruiser camps. And they're going to start taking them down just before the shrine becomes active. The first shrine is going to be over on the top side, so they will be able to walk into that together, and they will be able to clear out these bruiser camps quite easily, since it will be the closer wave. And now this is where we're seeing the all of the different picks that have map pressure. Kurama on the Brightwing is able to phase shift at any time into these fights. The Godly Noob has the burrow, will force out the polymorph, but not a huge spell. And the other thing that I haven't thought about, or haven't mentioned, or thought about for Zul, is he's very good at killing these skeletons. Has a lot of AoE damage and a lot of very fast DPS. And now King looks for the burrow strike, not going to land the Impale either, onto Bandit. And now the Corruption going to do a lot of damage, even with that spell armor. And now is going to try pulling them back. Godly Noob does burrow in, is looking towards Blue Abyss. Did go into stasis, but the polymorph is going to be utilized. King not able to land any of the abilities. Does land the Impale on Ronin, but that is it. They're able to force their way onto this camp. They're getting all of the skeletons down, and it is now currently tied for that, even though the High Inquisitors were able to get the pressure first. Now Ronin trying to pull back onto this pressure. They're going to reduce the healing on the King, and King goes in, able to get the Burrow Strike and the Impale and the Drag and the Hammer of Justice on a Blue Abyss, trying to deal some damage in the middle of everyone. And King needs one more auto, but in the meanwhile, they lose Tykes on the back line. Q-Ball is now fighting onto Jaws. Jaws is in the back, trying to get a kill, but will have the Impale and the Drag, and the same combo is going to take down Jaws. So it's a 2-for-1 in favor of Hot's dads. But the High Inquisitors were able to secure the objective. They have the Frozen Punisher. And the real question is, how much value can they get out of it? If it's more than 1 kill's worth, they will have gotten the advantage for that team fight. And it looks like they're going to be able to take this wall. So I would say overall it does benefit the High Inquisitors. Very slight lead to them, considering what happened in that play. But they were able to get the wall. They were able to get just a little bit of damage overall on the fort as well. Nothing super crazy, but it is permanent damage onto that building. Still very close game overall. Slight XP lead towards Hot's dads. And they are going to be able to collect a decently large wave over in the mid side as well. Godly Noob going to secure that. So about a half level lead for them. But the overall building pressure is still favoring the High Inquisitors. And now both sides are going to go on to their siege camps. King and Kakarot going to try bursting this one down. As Bandit, Kurama, and Blue Abyss are going to be taking down their own siege camp. And now everyone's just getting onto the siege camp, trying to take it down as quickly as possible. As they will get that neutral siege camp for themselves. So able to get back a little bit of that XP deficit. They are losing a lot of soak over on the top side. But Godly Noob might get picked upon. They're not going to be able to land anything in time. But they are able to land the corruption over the mid lane. And they're going to get a lot of value out of the siege camp as well. It's just going to absolutely decimate this wall. And I think it's even going to be able to finish this wall off. The bottom tower already gone. The top side tower also going to get finished off. So good map movements right now coming out of the High Inquisitors. They did lose their bottom tower and the gate in the bot lane, but that's not as big a deal as losing those cannon towers. Those cannon towers do give XP. As Godly Noob does go into stasis, gets condemned. The Impale lands on it too in the back line, so no one's going to follow up onto that play. It's the drag, but it is onto Ronin, but how much can they get out of that? As Jaws is able to land the ultimate in the middle of everyone, and now the Blessed Shield lands onto everyone, and Condemn onto 4, and look at that, horrifies. The Phoenix is starting to zone, but they're able to take down the Tychus. They have the Cocoon onto the other DPS. Blue Abyss is trying to run in, but Jaws going to get taken down. 2-for-1 in favor of the High Inquisitors, though. That's a team fight they were able to win. And just the amount of damage out of that Poison Nova was insane. Just so much damage coming out from Zoe. And that really was the game changer for that team fight. They were able to land the Cocoon onto the Greymane, which did definitely help prevent a lot of the follow-up. But they just didn't need that much more DPS. They still had the Gul'dan just throwing those Fell Flames over the wall, over top of everyone. And Ronin was able to start a huge fight with that 4-man Condemn. Now both sides are going to group up and just start taking down their bruiser camps. And the XP lead that was there is now basically gone. So we are at an even state. Both teams are going to be level 12 for this shrine. I don't expect level 13 to be coming out quite yet, as both sides have just caught most of the soak. Now this bruiser camp is still available, and it looks like they're waiting on it a little bit. They want to get clear out the top lane first, and then use this bruiser camp as their pressure. Now Kakarot, King, and Q-Ball going to just walk top, clear out this bruiser camp, and with that they're going to have the pressure coming into the top lane. So pretty solid macro move. The High Inquisitors will be starting on the Skeletons first. They will be able to get 10 before Hot Stads approaches. But the Bro Strike lands on Kurama, same with the Impale and the Drag, and so many stuns. Phoenix on top of it as well. Kurama is going to survive just barely. Oh, but no, never mind. The grenade comes out over top, and now Blue Abyss is taking all the damage. Poison Nova lands onto everyone, and the Greymane will go down. And so much damage dealt by the High Inquisitors, but they weren't able to make anything happen. 2-for-0 from the Hot Stads. As they do start work onto the Skeletons, they are very low. The Poison Nova dealt so much damage to their backline. And they're even able to kind of clear out some of these Skeletons. So while they lost the fight, they may... Oh, so while they won the fight, they are kind of getting zoned away a little bit. The top wall took a decent amount of pressure from the Bruiser camp. And working around that as well, it looks like they will be able to secure themselves the Mortar Punisher. And that's a very big objective for them to have. They're going to be taking down this Punisher. They should be able to get this mid-wall at the very least. The Punisher trying to jump over the gate, but will not be able to. It's just kind of standing in place. And the Mortar Punisher does deal a lot of damage. If you walk into those explosions, the DPS goes hard. And now they're able to get the leap onto 2, and now the Bro Strike on top of Blue Abyss as well. And Blue Abyss taking so much damage, they're able to get the Cocoon onto the Joanna, but will be okay. The healing coming out from Kurama is enough. The Phoenix has been spawned onto the fort. Will deal a decent bit of DPS to it. But they're able to get the mid wall, and they're able to get the mid fort down to half HP. Now the next Punisher, that's when I think the buildings are really going to start toppling. These teams are now slowly but surely scaling. They're getting that higher base stats. They're getting all those talents. And the lead is back for the Hot Stats. It's still not a significant lead, about half a level. There is going to be a few more timers for the level 16 and the level 20 talent where they're going to have a little bit of an advantage. But it's not going to be a lot of time, maybe about 30 seconds. And if they can utilize that window, it could be quite a bit. And now Jaws does sidestep that drag and is just trying to clear away the siege camp as Godly Noob does the same in the mid lane. Now both these two teams are starting to group up. Jaws might get caught here. Will the drag land? No. Has the Impale, and they are able to land the Impale and the drag and the Hammer of Justice, but the Condemn lands on everyone. Same with the Poison Nova. But their right wing has been taken down. Blue Abyss trying to do something, but oh, as soon as he's out, it's going to be very rough, and there Bandit goes. This respawns out of the cocoon, but does not turn into a butterfly. It turns into a corpse. And Hot's dads are able to win yet another team fight, 2-0 for them. And they're able to finish off this mid lane fort. Now, Commander Odin was used during that team fight, and they're not going to have any more duration available to push further into the mid lane. But that's the first major building that gets taken down by either of these teams. They have a full level lead now and a full talent lead right now. So they do have a little bit of a timer. And now they're looking over onto this top lane fort. They do have the numbers. And Q-Ball is not going to be able to land the Cyclone. So it is going to be a little bit of a rough situation right now. But they're not going to be able to get any pickoff. They're not going to be able to pressure out this top fort. And all 5 members of the High Inquisitors are now here. The Bruiser Camp is available if they want to take that down. And that is what they're going to do. All this, and at the same time, the top side Bruiser Camp is going to be up as well. So they're going to be able to finish it off from both sides. Let me just reply to chat real quick, just because this is important, and then we'll be right back. And now we do have the fight starting over onto this. They do get the Hammer of Justice onto Ronin. Ronin is now going to get body blocked, but the Corruption landing over the wall on the Fell Flame. Overall, King has taken more damage, but Godly Noob looking for the drag. Still has it available and just threatening that drag. And they're able to get Blue Abyss, and they're going to be able to get the stun, but will be able to roll away in time. Now the Cocoon onto Bandit. And Ronin is going to go down, and Kurama in the middle of the Phoenix as well. And they're just both going to get taken down. King taking down so much damage, but the Divine Shield going to save him. But Kakarot in the back line. They're going to go down. Blue Abyss working so hard to kill the back line. User 0. User error is still up. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Hot Stats, but once again, who has the HP advantage? Even if you have the 1 number advantage, but Blue Abyss is walking in the drag. Just barely able to dodge it. Very good pounce by Blue Abyss to not get dragged in by Godly Noob's tongue. But the Shrine is active. Hot Stats, they were able to pressure it back out. They're going to start work on this Shrine. Level 17 is level 18 now hit by Hot Stats. So no talent advantage, and they're not likely to have level 20 for this spawn either. So they are going to start fighting down. They're going to be able to take most of these skeletons. They're going to have a 20 skeleton lead by the time the High Inquisitors are ready to start contesting. As they are here now, so not quite 20, only 17. But the Fell Flame from Bandit is able to clear it out so quickly, just one-shotting. And the fight should be breaking up momentarily. They're now tied in skeletons. 20 skeletons getting taken down by the High Inquisitors, 23-24. You gotta go, Hot Stats, and they do have the Burrow Strike coming in. Commander Odin bumped as well, and Corruption lands onto Godly Noob, but will be able to heal it back. Now Commander Odin just dealing so much damage on the backline, and the Cleanse landing onto Jaws will not get pulled back in. The Condemn lands onto 2, and the Poison Nova lands onto 4 yet again. The Horrify as well. And now they're jumping onto Godly Noob. Godly Noob taking down to around half HP. But they're going to be able to get onto Blue Abyss. Blue Abyss is able to get away. Now Jaws just trying to deal damage on the backline. But you're alone, Jaws. Impale will land. And that's first blood in this fight going through. So it was 1 kill going over to Hot's Dads. But the Arcane Punisher goes to the High Inquisitors. And now they're going to start pushing in this top side. There is only one available. King is going to get collapsed on by the Punisher as they're slowly pushing into this fort. And now they're level 17, about to hit level 18 for the High Inquisitors. So their damage is going to be real now. They're going to be able to tear through these buildings. And while the last Punisher died after taking the fort, there's still more than half HP available. And now they do have the leave. King is going to collect that Punisher. Oh, but look at that damage coming out from Cue Ball. Bandit taking down half HP. Unfortunately, it is the Gul'dan. Does have the heal. And they will be able to finish off most of this wall as well. Burrow Strike got to be utilized just to make sure it doesn't fit. But Golly Noob is on the backside. And Bandit does get the phase shift. But the drag on to Bandit. And that's going to be the Gul'dan going down. Now the Joanna is stuck in the cocoon. Are they going to be able to finish it off? And I do think Ronin... Yeah, Ronin, sorry. I have never seen a Joanna get blown up that quickly. So I guess that's what it looks like when you use everything onto a Joanna fresh out of cocoon. If you ever wanted to see that, that's what it looks like. And with that kill, they get the level 20s. And they're going to be able to pressure onto this top lane fort. Hot's Dads looking very commanding this game. 13-4 in kills. As the top lane fort does get evened out. Overall, the map pressure is in their favor. And they look so practiced when it comes to chaining this crowd control. Their crowd control chaining has been pretty much perfect in every single one of these fights. And I think that's really what's making the difference. A Godly Noob able to get those drags, and then that drag turns into the Burrow Strike or the Impale. Or if the Burrow Strike and Impale lands first, then it's the drag, and then it's the Hammer of Justice, then it's the Cyclone coming out from the KT. And it seems like they have this all worked out, and they have all of this practiced. And I have to give credit where it's due, because something like that, yes, if you're a skilled player, you can do it. But even at the very top divisions, the Master, the Grandmaster ranks, players will never be able to do it perfectly because they have not practiced together. What they're doing here is purely that dedication to practice, to scrim together as a team. And it's really starting to show in this game, especially, where they have this team composition that really relies on chaining CC to kill one opponent. Now, level 20 has now been matched by High Inquisitors. It's still not a massive lead for Hot's Dads in terms of map pressure. It is only 2 forward advantage. They do have the rest of the map pushing in as well, and that's just from the pressure they've been able to get from winning those team fights, from getting those objectives. But overall, High Inquisitors, they should still be able to fight. They're no longer down in talent, and they never will be again. They're down a few stats for the level, but that really doesn't matter. It's going to be all about execution. The Godly Noob, once again, looking to fish for a drag. Looking around. And does he Bandit? And will not reach it. Unfortunately, already cast a drag into the bush before he saw Bandit walking through. That would have been a huge pick-off to get. And now with that, they're able to get the mid lane pressure again. The top lane bruiser is going to get finished off, so the High Inquisitors will have their push going in their favor. And now Blue Abyss and Ronin gonna take down this mid lane as well. But the Punisher is now spawning. The Shrine is active. And now we do see Godly Noob on the backside. And they're actually going to go into Godly Noob first. Blue Abyss taking Godly Noob down to half HP. And that's really the threat. Godly Noob on these flanks has been so hard to deal with. They're going to be walking in now, and they're going to start contesting over onto these. As Commander Odin does come out, and Godly Noob does go in and polymorphs immediately. And not too much use, but Jaws is taking so much damage to the backline. Poison Nova does come out, but only on a 2. And the Horfire is going to be used as well. But the Cue Ball is running away. They had the Divine Shield on the Godly Noob. Will survive. And Blue Abyss trying to deal damage in the backline, but the stuns, there's just too many of them. Fell Flame going to be used to kill King. And that's going to be the first kill going over in this team fight. And they're able to get 2 now. Godly Noob looking for a 3rd, but doesn't need the 3rd because Jaws in the backline. Hammer of Justice and User Error also going to be able to get that kill. Godly Noob is invisible, has a drag available shortly, will not be able to reach Bandit. They will be able to win the team fight. They will be able to take this Punisher. But can they end the game with this? They're in a very commanding spot, and this is a very good opportunity for them to try to end the game. It is 2v5 on the map. It is the Joanna and the Gul'dan, though. If there's any 2 you want up for this point, those are the 2 you want. But it does look like Hot's Dads, they're not really rushing to push this in. They're taking it slow, trying to get their wave set up. So It doesn't seem like they want to push to end the game. It does seem like they want to push to take 2 keeps. But even that is going to give them a very sizable advantage. And now the charge is going to come through from this Frozen Punisher as they start tearing down onto these walls. The Punisher also helping a little bit, and they're able to get the Burrow Strike on the Bandit, and the Impale, and the Rewind Impale, and the Rewind Burrow Strike. And now Ronin going to get stuck inside of the Phoenix as well. As soon as Ronin spawns, how much follow-up do they have? They're not going to be able to land it in time, but you know who gets the stun? The Frozen Punisher. And now that's 2 dead, and those are the 2 I said you want to lie for this. So Hot's Dads looking to make this a clean sweep, a clean 3-for-0. And now they're able to get the drag over onto Blue Abyss. The Poison Nova comes through, but it doesn't matter anymore. Hot's Dads are going to sweep the High Inquisitors as they advance to the semifinals. And that is the series. A clean 3-0 from Hot's Dads. And I gotta give them huge credit for this game. They were playing this almost perfectly. This third map, they do not look like a Div B team, and I mean that in the best way possible. They look like they were playing at least at the A division there. Just how well they were able to sync up those stuns together one by one by one. Got pretty much full value out of every single piece of crowd control, and at the same time they were zoning out the backline to the point where they couldn't help support. They couldn't cancel that perfect layering of crowd control. So I'm really excited to see how much Hot's Dad are going to be able to do during these playoffs coming soon. Now, remember, round of 4 and onwards, semifinals and onwards, all the games are going to be casted on the official NGS and the NGS 2 channels. Okay, so it does look like Dark Knight has decided to pick up the Psystorm versus CM, and will be casting the CCS SM matchup. Now, there's still about an hour until the game starts. I'm not going to bother just constantly running the blank screen. So I will be raiding out to one of the channels. Let me just see. I think I'm going to raid Linehouse. We're going to go over to that series. So let us move over there. And before we go, thank you very much for watching. But I do expect you all to come back in an hour. We have another series. We are not done for the night. I intend to cast as much as possible. And I intend for all of you to come and enjoy NGS Hot action with me. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you all very soon.